Today, the question is, can violence be learned? The answer to that is yes. According to a study that was carried out by Wake Forest University back in 2000, it realizes that violence can be learned, and it is a learned behavior. Anyone who is exposed to violence and the use of violence can easily learn that behavior, and in some instances can become violent themselves. When we look at violence, as it can be defined as a physical issue, where one experiences beating, kicking, punching, killing, or the use of weapons to include knives or firearms, or razors, where forces are being used. This is classed as a violent behavior. So what can be done to prevent this behavior? Now, this is by no means an excuse to get away with this behavior. However, there are certain factors that one need to look at when we think about what causes this behavior, or what brings on this type of behavior. We can look at one factor to include stress. Stress can come in the form of a breakdown in a relationship, a breakdown in family home, where you have a husband and a wife become divorced or separated through divorce, and they have children. So either party may have to be raising that child or children as a single parent on their own, be it the father or the mother. In some cases, you have drugs and alcohol, the abuse of both. Unemployment can also trigger factors that can lead to violent behavior. So where does one learn violence? If we are saying that violence can be learned, where do one get it from? Where does it originate from? We have to look at go back to the ground root of these causes or these problems where they're associated and their association. Example, social groups, family, friends, clubs, neighborhood where there is already a high level of crime rates, music videos, televisions, and the internet. Substance abuse or the association with gangs can all create factors or are all factors related to violence. We need to look at the way we disciplined our children. If we tend to use forces, physical forces, as a method where we become aggressive in our discipline to our children, this can develop into violence. Children seeing this, experience it, and they themselves can become violent children in the future, or adults as they grow older. One may say an individual or individuals who have raised in a home where it's a religious home or a home of Christianity, they are less likely to become violent. There is truth to that. However, there are cases where children have grown up in the best of home where they've seen no violence whatsoever. But coming out of that secured environment and into an environment where they can experience or they are likely to experience violence on a level, be it that at school or in the social settings or through looking at various videos, as I pointed out for us, or on the internet, because the internet is easily accessible today, where they can see these things, it's likely that they can develop or learn these behaviors from these various mediums. Now, I have said earlier that violence can be learned. Let us look at the nation to include parents, teachers, ministers, church, communities, and social organizations. Let us ask them for help in taking a stand to reduce the chances of our young people becoming more violent or experiencing violence. Remember, they are the future for tomorrow. And if we are to see a reduced level of violence within our community, within our churches, within our schools, within our homes, all of us need to take a stand. All of us need to have an input in reducing the likelihood of violence amongst us. So let us look at education. At schools, teachers need to continue to educate children, to put in place interventions that are geared towards young people who come to school with the use of guns and knives. If it means that you have to, as teachers, search children who are suspected of carrying these illegal weapons, so be it. We need to do it to eradicate the use or the chances of them becoming violent towards not only themselves but to others. Parents, we need to take responsibility for our children. We need to not believe that because they're going to school, it's only the teacher's responsibility to educate these children. We as parents have a job to do. Not only just be parent and put on clothes on their backs and give them something to eat, but to educate our children. Set limits to include encouraging them, children, not to hit each other and not to use foul language or language that can be deemed offensive towards each other or one another. And parents, when we're using methods of, we want to be to disciplined is the word I was looking for. We want to discipline our children. Let us try not to become physical or to use physical things to discipline our children. Let us learn to use a tone to calm ourselves before we address these children. And we can use different measures in disciplining our children. Take away the things that they like from them, the places that they like going. Take these things away from them. That is a way to discipline our children rather than beating them and leaving marks on them, rather than becoming aggressive with our tone or voices. These are areas that we need to work on as parents that will minimize these children who are the future for tomorrow from becoming violent themselves. We need to set examples, as I said, by using non-violence method. We need to exercise patience with our children. I know sometimes, because I'm a parent as well who have raised my children, and I'm happy to say that they're adults now. And yes, I am guilty sometimes the way I speak to them. But sometimes, if you don't lose a certain tone, they don't get it. But you can use a stern word. You can tone your voice down, and it can have an impact or a positive effect on your children when used correctly. So when we are about to discipline our children if they've done something wrong, let us use this method of calming ourselves down and using a tone that they can understand, and they can see that we are not shouting or we're not coming with this aggression towards them. Because if we as parents throw that on our children, it is likely that our children can adopt this behavior and become violent themselves. I talk about children who grow up in a Christian environment and where people will think that they're less likely. And as I say, if they associate themselves, and sometimes these children can be rebellious. You know what? I want to challenge my parents. I want to see what it's like out there. These kids are probably getting away, or they're probably living a lifestyle that I want to be part of. However, those same children who have been raised in that environment, as they grow older, this is a pattern or a behavior that they will see this is not the route I want to go down. And will turn these negative behaviors that they have seen that is developing amongst their peers and turn it into positiveness and tell themselves, although we have seen this in this environment that we are associating ourselves with or socialize in, we know, because our parents did not raise us this way, we know it is wrong and we don't want to follow that pathway. But they need support and they need encouragement. And we all need to be part of that success for our children, for our generation, for tomorrow. We all need our children to look at our behavior, look at the way that we do and say things positively so it can influence their life or lives in a positive manner. I hope that I have covered a little of what we need as parents, as a community, as a church, as an organization, as minister of governments. I hope that we have covered, or I have covered, areas that we need to come together and work together to reduce the chances of our youngsters or youths becoming a violent nation. Thank you.